Hi to all the fellow fashionistas out there. This is Nicole. I'm a fashion consultant for pageant contestants and women executives. Today I'm going to be discussing my favorite looks from the Miss Grand International 2025 Gala Dinner, and these looks are in no particular order. They're looks that really stood out because there were a lot of gorgeous looks that night, as per usual with MGI, but these ones really went above and beyond and catching my eye. And in the video, I'll discuss what it was that really made these looks stand out. And hopefully, if you're a pageant contestant, you can use these looks as inspiration to stand out in your next pageant. So here's my list. First up is Myanmar. And this was absolutely gorgeous. And the standout effect for me was in the sleeves. It looked like butterflies. The sleeves look like butterfly wings. Absolutely gorgeous, as well as the colors. The green and the gold paired together within the dress really worked, and the beading was absolutely stunning and caught the lighting within the room very well. And I liked the material that she had. It was kind of like a train hanging from one side of the gown that gave it a very dramatic effect, and it was an overall classy and stunning look. Nepal. So for Nepal, what made this a standout look was not only the gold beading up at the top, which really shined well, it was also the contrast of the orange feathers at the bottom, which went really well with the gold. Netherlands. So this shade of blue looked absolutely stunning on her. It really looked great with her eyes, as her eyes appear to be that same shade of blue. And then I liked the details within the gown. It had looked like applique flowers up at the top in the bodice part on one side, and then the crystal beading was absolutely stunning. And this color looked, like I said, it really complemented her eyes well. And that's something to take into consideration also when you're picking out a gown or an outfit for any part of the pageant, is making sure that the color really complements you well, and specifically your skin tone and your eye color, as is the case for the Netherlands. She looked absolutely stunning, as well as details within the dress. If you're going to wear a beaded detail dress, making sure that it catches the light well, as well as other details that you could look for within the dress. Like we see here, she has the floral details on one side of the bodice, which really made the dress stand out from amongst the other beaded gowns. Nigeria, I like how she gave a nod to her culture. It looked like it was a cultural print throughout the gown, up at the top and on the bottom. And the fabric with this gown really caught the lighting well. It was like a silk fabric. That, coupled with the color, it was like a cobalt blue, made this very head-turning. Peru. She still managed to walk gracefully despite her injury, and she really caught my eye in this gown. It was a beautiful, ravishing ruby red gown made of beading from top to bottom. And within her gown, it was the fine details such as the beading and the way it was structured, how it caught the light, as well as the tassels on the shoulders of the gown. Puerto Rico. So for Puerto Rico, her gown stood out to me. It was absolutely stunning. I really loved the colors. It was a couple different shades of blue. It was like an aqua blue and a deeper shade of blue, almost like a cobalt blue. That on the top, and then at the bottom, it was metallic, a silver shade. And then I loved the train at the back of the dress. It was that lighter shade of blue that matches the blue up at the top. And I love the sleeve. It's like a half sleeve that she had going on that attached to the cape that was also made of crystals. This was absolutely stunning. And again, what really made her gown stand out amongst all the other beaded gowns that we saw at the gala dinner was the structure of the beads and the way in which they were strategically placed on the gown. You had a lot of different color blocking going on, which really helped to make the gown stand out, as well as the sleeves and how they had the same color crystals all on the top, well, all throughout the sleeves. They were half sleeves, and they really enhanced the gown well without distracting and taking away from it. As did the cape, the train at the back. Sometimes when people wear trains, they just look like they're random and misplaced, but this one flowed very well with the gown due to the color. And it was simple. It didn't have any detail on it, which really did not work against the gown since the gown already had a lot going on. So if you're wearing a beaded gown like this, making sure that if you have on something like an opera coat or a boa or a train, that you keep it simple so that way it's not too distracting. Spain, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous beaded gown that she shined all during her presentation. And what really stood out about her gown was the beading and how it really caught the light well, and just how it was different textures of beading throughout the gown, as well as different shapes and sizes. You had silver, you had blue, and it also looked like you had gold. They were all different sizes, shapes, and textures, but it worked. And it really enhanced the gown. And the earrings went perfectly with the gown. They were big and dramatic, but they weren't too much. They really enhanced the gown and let the gown do the talking. And that's something to look for when you're picking accessories to go with gowns, especially gowns that have a lot of detail in them like hers, is making sure that your stuff like earrings, necklace, and any other enhancements you have don't take away from the gown. And I also like the feathers. United Kingdom. This was a very unique piece. It almost looked like something that you would see someone wearing at the Cannes Film Festival, where the looks tend to be have more of an artsy statement-making aesthetic. And what gave it that vibe to me was the off-the-shoulder part of the gown. It was circular and white and really popped up against the black throughout the rest of the gown. And I really liked the way it was made in the back. It looked like it was a white bow in the back and a long train. Very classy and elegant, and it gives old Hollywood vibes to me. USA, she stumbled, but she was able to get up gracefully, and that's a lesson for any queen, is we stumble, but it's all on how we get up, and don't let the stumbling hold us back. And from her facial expression, you wouldn't even be able to tell that she had stumbled previously. And the gown really enhanced the elegance of her walk. It was two-tone yellow up at the top and orange at the bottom, and that's what really made this a standout look. The two-tone and the beading and how it was placed all throughout the gown and how it caught the light, and I love the sheer sleeves. Overall, gorgeous look. Venezuela, the winner of the night. Her gown, stunning. You had a lot of, like I said, beaded gowns, especially metallic beaded gowns. But what made hers really stand out and pop from amongst the rest was the fine details within the gown. The beading throughout the gown, absolutely stunning. I love how it was sewn on. It almost looked like a waterfall effect with the way that it was going down. And then I liked the one sleeve that she had. It was very dramatic off the shoulder, and it looked like tassels hanging from the side, and then the rest of it was a long sleeve. And again, another look that we're seeing where she has a train. It's simple, doesn't take away from the gown, it actually enhances it because it's very simple, and since the gown already has a lot going on. And then the earrings perfectly complemented the gown, and I love her updo. It framed her face very well and really brought the attention to the gown. So tell me, what was your favorite gown from the Miss Grand International 2025 Gala Dinner? Were there any stunners that really stood out to you? And also, if you have a pageant coming up and you have events that you have to plan wardrobe for and you may find it very overwhelming, don't hesitate to hit me up for help. I will put the link to my website in the description. So I hope this video helped you, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.